Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie with some music entertainment news for this Monday. Well, here we go. We haven't heard a lot out of the P. Diddy camp lately. It's just that we know he's locked up, and we know there's a court case coming, and it's probably going to be quite a while until it happens. But one of Diddy's lawyers quit over the weekend, and the quote is what kind of got me, where the lawyer said, quote, "Under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel for Sean Combs." Mm-hmm. That's all he said.
No circumstances.
Under no he could have just said, I quit this bitch. You know, I quit.
Yeah, he could have said that.
You know what? I really feel in my heart, like, when lawyers meet with you, they're like, I need to know everything. I need to know what I'm defending, because like, I have to be ready when they throw this torpedo at me in court with a response. So you can't, like, hide stuff from your lawyer thinking it's going to create innocence. If anything, tell them everything so they can create a story that makes you look innocent. And I think that Diddy is constantly like, never did that, and then it's like proof. And he's like, never did that, and then it's proof. And he's like, good Lord, I can't help. Like, I can't do anything with this.
Can't be a stronger statement than saying, under no circumstances can I continue. He could have said, you know what, my schedule's pretty busy. I'm going to let Sean, he's got 5 other lawyers. He'll be fine without me. He could have said that. He didn't. He does have 5 other lawyers, and the trial will begin in May, actually. So this won't delay the trial, him quitting, which could happen a lot of times if he had like one lawyer. But he doesn't. He's got a whole team, which I'm sure it's going to be interesting.
Your lawyer not believing you is never a good sign before going to court. That is not good.
I'm out.
Not good.
Also, lawyers like money. And I can't imagine what this costs per hour working on this case for a year or whatever it has been at this point. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a lot. He's given up a lot on the table.
That's true. And
Under no circumstances.
Ideally, Diddy would have a lot of money. You'd be paying that lawyer a lot of money. No circumstances is tough.
Yep, tough one. We'll keep that going through May. The trial starts. Also, over the weekend, music entertainment news, Dave Grohl's baby mama was identified, Jennifer Young. This is the headline I have. It says, Jennifer Young is a horror movie producer who once worked as a PA with Justin Theroux.
Nice. I thought that was going to go total. I heard horror.
Oh, no.
Like, whoa.
No. Horror. Like
horror.
Like Case's goth girls that he wants to work at Hooters. That's kind of horror.
I see.
Yeah.
The New York Post headline, because I love when journalists have to write about this stuff, and I guess in a roundabout way, the New York Post is journalism. They said, tattooed music buff 38 confirms that she's the mother of Dave Grohl's love child.
Ugh.
Music enthusiast?
No, tattooed music buff.
Music buff.
Can you imagine being a tattooed music buff?
I think we have a lot of tattooed music buffs listening to the show right now.
That'd be awesome. I'd love to be that. I'm pasty
I'd
white
imagine
dork.
she's been called worse.
Yeah. And the thing is, with Dave Grohl, we just last week played the audio from the Saturday Night Live where there was post-Nirvana. So Dave Grohl has twice now in the last couple months played with Nirvana. Essentially, his daughter sang at the Fire Aid benefit with the rest of the living members of Nirvana. And then now, Post Malone did last week, where Foo Fighters, I don't want to say they're on a hiatus, but they just haven't done much since the end of last year.
They were certainly supposed to do more before the story came out.
Yeah.
Do you think the rest of the fighters are like, hey, well, we didn't have this big debacle. What's the big deal with us?
Hey, I got to eat over here, huh?
Hey, what's the big deal?
So when we going on the road again?
You know all those songs we have? When are we going to play those?
I'm telling you, I think that Foo Fighters will probably take a hiatus this year, and I have a feeling that this Nirvana thing could... I know Post Malone's got his own tour because he's playing Wrigley Field in the summer, so he's got his own tour to do. But I wouldn't be surprised if this Nirvana thing keeps going throughout the entire year with some special performances at festivals and things. And then maybe he comes back with Foo Fighters next year. I don't have any inside information. I'm just saying that's my speculation.
I'm just saying it's a PR move to be like, well, what's going to get people talking about me for a totally different reason? The whole Nirvana resurgence. Sure. It's smart, but I'm sure his wife's like, oh, it's nice that you have that up your pocket. You're not just going to take the smoke. Turn this whole thing to Nirvana.
I got to say, if I had Nirvana in my pocket, I'd use it.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101, and Dave checked in from Hoffman Estates saying, I heard that audio this morning of those kids doing the high school basketball game. Will you play it again? Yes, we will. It is the greatest sports call in the history of Chicago sports. We'll do it here in just about 120 seconds. Let's get to some other stuff in sports first.
The Q101 Morning Crew.
Like the Blackhawks last night losing 5-2 to the Leafs, but that's not the story. The story is last night, Blackhawks organist Frank Pellico worked his last game after 33 seasons on the organ for the Blackhawks. Such a fun instrument. I wish I could play the organ. It'd be great. And here's some from the national anthem last night, of course, with the great Jim Cornelison. So good. They had that big 33 behind them, too, those balloons you buy at Party City.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those things, those gold balloons. That's nice. Hope they gave him some money, too.
Not just the balloons.
Balloons are expensive. Everything's gone up in price. You know that.
Maybe cupcakes. Maybe some cupcakes for his going away. 33 years on the organ. Now he has Kerry Marcotte has been doing it with him since the 2018-2019 season. So it's kind of a nice little transitional period to still have the organ going perfectly during Blackhawks games. One of the best in the business. So we wish Frank well in retirement and moving on. Four Nations, staying with hockey, that NHL Four Nations, the finale between USA and Canada, was the most watched hockey game in ESPN history. That includes some Stanley Cup games. So that's outstanding. And other teams should learn. They used that as the All-Star game this year, maybe learn to do something similar to that. I think they're all talking in boardrooms right now on desks. Well, how can we be like the hockey did that? It was incredible. It was incredible. How can we do that? Well, figure it out. They did. I just noticed people behind there that are so frustrated with the NBA All-Star game was garbage.
It was terrible. And I say that as somebody who adores the NBA.
And the NFL one's kind of garbage at this point, too. I mean, I like the flag football. It's kind of
You turning your back on flag football now? You're all about it.
You know, a year ago I loved it, and then this year I tried to watch it. I'm like, it was good for 1 year. That's about it. But I think they're going to learn and try to move forward that way. With the White Sox, ownership change? Well, Justin Ishbia? The Ishbia. I always put it the wrong accent on the wrong part of his name.
You'll get it.
He's a billionaire here in Chicago. He pursued the Minnesota Twins aggressively, and they changed his mind. Just going to put more of his stake into the White Sox, so a little bit more of an ownership stake in the Chicago White Sox. And who Case said he ruined the Suns. This guy runs the Suns too, owns it.
He bought the Suns 2 years ago, and he immediately made a bunch of sweeping changes that people around him were like, what if you did not do that? And he said, well, I'm a billionaire. I'm always right. I'm going to do that. And now the Suns are currently not a playoff team in the Western Conference. So, and on one hand, yes, this is a guy who likes to come in, spend money, shake things up. That is desperately what the White Sox need. The problem is that, given what I know about him, I don't trust his judgment. I think at best this is a lateral move for the White Sox organization.
But he may have learned a lot from that, and now he's got money, he's aggressive, and he's figured some things out.
Yeah, Kenzie, I always admire your glass half full outlook on life. I am just not sure it
feels
applies
like you
here.
don't.
Well,
I feel like both of you hate me every time I'm trying to be happy.
Well, there goes that half full of water.
It's
on the floor now.
Smack it out of my hand. I'm like, oh.
This is the greatest audio of a sports broadcast in Chicago history. Let's get there first. I'll set the stage with it was Hinsdale Central, Lyons Township, out of LaGrange. We'll play that in a second. But first, let's revisit some of the greatest sports calls in Chicago history. Like John Weidman's 2010 call. We were talking about the Blackhawks when the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup against the Flyers, breaking that 50-year drought.
The back of the net, the Hawks have won the Stanley Cup! Blackhawk fans around the world, you've endured 49 years of frustration, but your patience has finally paid off. Lord Stanley's new address is Sweet Home Chicago.
Oh, that's
the
great.
Chicago Blackhawks have won the Stanley Cup. They've won the Stanley Cup. It's over, they did.
Totally lost it at the end. Oh, what a great line he used there to come in there, the new address of the Stanley Cup.
So nice when the Blackhawks were a fun hockey team.
And that was so pivotal because that, again, 49 years it broke that drought, and it led to, of course, the dynasty of the 2010s with the Blackhawks winning 3.
It was nice.
Maybe it's nice that we're in droughts again because the celebration's always so much greater.
Yeah.
Wait, but
sell me on this.
the celebration's always so much greater when you've been in it. It just seems like you've really accomplished something versus if you were just winning year after year after
It's so
year.
boring.
It would lose its potency. It would lose its meaning.
Yeah, all those cities hate winning.
Yeah.
The worst thing that ever happened to Chicago was the Bulls three-peat twice. You're like, not
It got
another
boring.
one.
You didn't value it anymore. We would value any team doing anything well right now, and that is priceless.
There's some cyanide in that half-full glass that Kenzie's drinking over there. Mark Burley's perfect game. Let's do another great call of Chicago history. Hawk Harrelson and Steve Stone calling that perfect game against the Rays in 2009. What a call this is. Great one.
Alexei! Yes! 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 Yes!
I love that one so much.
History!
History!
Ah, so good.
Oh, so good.
I remember where I was when I was watching that. Life-changing moment for me.
2009? Where were you?
I was at my parents' house, home from school, a 10-year-old, home from summer break. It was in July. A 10-year-old boy just being inspired by Mark Burley every 5 days.
Huh. Interesting.
It was a nice life.
Good player.
Pretty good.
And we got to do one of the Jordan ones. How about the Jimmy Durham Red Kerr call over Michael's game-winning shot, the Cleveland Cavs, otherwise known as the shot for the past 36 years in the 89 playoffs. What a call.
The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win it! They win it! Set the Cleveland Cavaliers. Michael Jordan hits it at the foul line. 1-100.
Listen, Craig Elo was a phenomenal player. That destroyed his life. That shot.
Oh, yeah, the guy that Jordan shot the ball over?
Yeah, that shot over Craig Elo. Oh, my God. That was, can you imagine that? Devastating. Devastating. But good on our part because he's our guy.
Well,
Jordan.
it's not like they've replayed it a million times on every NBA broadcast for the last 36 years or anything.
Yeah, now those are all amazing calls, but this is the best call in Chicago sports radio history, and it comes from Hinsdale Central versus Lyons Township, which is in LaGrange. That game over the weekend. Lions won the game with a half-court shot at the buzzer, 58-55. Hinsdale's won 25 in a row, only lost 2 games this season. They're 28-3 now, and Lions is about a 500 team, 14-15. But this is the call when Hinsdale ties it. There's a couple missed shots, and then the half-court shot. This is the greatest call in Chicago sports history.
Roscoe looking to drive baseline. Kick out to Howe. 30 seconds left to play. Back to Dell. Dell gets a screen. Puts up the 3.
That tied it up.
22 seconds left. LT will not take a timeout right now. We'll see if that changes. Sloan brings it up. 16 seconds. Sloan, three-pointer. Go, go.
That was a miss.
Central got to miss. Gutierrez nearly rips it. Dell now going to take it. Orozco, three-pointer. Go, go.
That was a miss.
Gutierrez, Carroll got to miss. 2 seconds. Shot is off. Oh my God! Oh my goodness! Oh, Scott! Going crazy!
I wish I was there. Those kids who did that broadcast, they transcended me there to that game.
It was remarkable.
And we still don't know their names. We've been trying hard and trying to get their names to the broadcast. I want to give them credit. If we don't do it today, if it doesn't happen, people that go to Lyons High School, Lyons Township, please let us know because that was the greatest thing ever. The greatest thing ever.
Talent, baby. Their talent, it's happiness. I'm excited to see that we have these kind of prospects for one day when our sports teams win again in Chicago. They could be the broadcasters.
These guys will be ready.
Gutierrez, Carroll got to miss. 2 seconds. Shot is off. Oh my God! Oh my goodness! Oh, Scott! It's going crazy!
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Time for some local news, stuff going on in your backyard. Today, the Highland Park Parade shooting trial starts as Robert Creamer III facing more than 100 charges, including 21 counts of first-degree murder for the shooting that killed 7 and wounded 48 nearly 3 years ago. What a tragic, tragic day for Chicago and, of course, Highland Park. As we've heard from Billy Corrigan talking about it and raising money for the victims. And it's been such a journey for the last 3 years on this, and it's finally going to trial as
Yes.
they got everything underway. So,
And I just, everybody, keep these families in mind, finally going to trial. I just hope that they all, get the justice and hopefully the closure on this, as you never get back, what you lost, but they do deserve that justice and closure. So
1,000%.
that happens.
Early voting is underway right now and has been underway for Dalton, our favorite mayor down south, Tiffany Henyard, who will probably be a number 1 overall seed in Piece of Garbage Madness. coming up here in March. So
You gone.
now I guess we'll see what happens as the whole thing plays out.
Voted in.
So the primary, of course, is tomorrow, but there has been early voting for the last several weeks, and then the general election will be April 1st. So I'm fascinated to see what happens in the primary tomorrow. Deciding the candidates and going forward, what happens?
I don't know enough about elections. Is this an instance where if the primary favors another candidate or another two candidates ahead of her, could she be out of the race come April? Or I bad understanding of the voting system.
You vote though, right?
I do, but I don't get it.
Well-
Electoral college is some racket. You want to get into that?
Oh boy. Let's go down the hall on 890 and get on that one. So primary elections are held to determine which candidates will run in the upcoming election. Now, I'm curious to see just how that plays out tomorrow. I imagine she's got it
Cage
stacked.
fight.
Yeah.
I think it's a to the death thing in Dalton.
I'll just be curious to know by the end of the day tomorrow if they have even an answer on those results.
Because there will be people that vote for her, which is weird.
1,000%.
Well, her boyfriend, for sure.
Yeah.
And all his
Herself.
friends. And
And all
herself.
his friends.
All his friends, all her friends.
I mean, anybody who's gotten money from her because like she's doing a phenomenal job in my life is what they'll think.
Finally, the Illinois-Indiana border war is heated up again this week. We're the only ones talking about this. No one else is talking about this story where a third of the state wants to secede to Indiana. How is no one else talking about this?
A third. Just to be clear, it's a third of the state.
So a bill in the Indiana legislature would create a commission now to explore offering to welcome succeeding Illinois counties to the Hoosier state. So now a committee's getting done here. This is a little bit of advancement on the story we talked about for the last few weeks, where 33 counties in Illinois have said we want to secede and join Indiana. They have voted that in. Now Indiana's trying to decide, hey, come on over. How can we figure this out? And what a conundrum this causes for so many problems as far as, obviously Illinois has higher taxes than Indiana, right? Well, our taxes will just go up that's why we can't let them go. I don't care what they want. These counties cannot go to Indiana because my taxes can't go up any higher.
Well, what I don't even know. I don't even understand how this is legal. How can you be like, well, I wish my county was in Indiana. I'm going to vote for that. It's like, well, then you just have to move to Indiana.
You didn't look carefully enough at your ballot when you voted last time, Kenzie.
Apparently, you could just be like, what state do you wish your state actually was? And then you can vote on that.
You didn't flip over the page in Elgin when you were voting, Kenzie. It was on
Be
the
like,
other
I
side.
want this to be Florida. That's how I feel now.
We will follow this as we go along, and this story develops. It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101, some of your local news there.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Papa Roach, Rise of the Roach Tour. We will have tickets for that, of course, at our broadcast for St. Patty's Day, which is coming up March 14th. All the information at Q101.com at Lizzie McNeil's. Remember, tomorrow we'll have more tickets at 7:10 for Dave Matthews Band and Clash with Kenzie, and at 8:20 we have Kenzie's Crimes, another edition of a deep dive into a murder mystery around Chicagoland. So all that tomorrow. Coming up here with Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Takeaways, Case, what do you got?
Laura from Lake Villa checked in. His takeaway: Goth Hooters, son of a bitch.
Jonas, son of a bitch.
There we go. Kenzie, what do you got?
Takeaway, Brian hopes the new hot band In Sync will make it big someday.
I really do. I really do. Those guys they're real good
They're so
young
talented.
young upstarts.
Scrappy.
And finally, takeaway from Dodger Boy, Diddy's lawyer.
Goodbye.
What's on the podcast, Case?
Oh my goodness, what a day on the podcast. Bad news for Schiller Park. There is still an asteroid headed your way. Do not listen to what the government has to say. We talked about that and the fact that makes your brain go boom this morning. Also, the greatest moment in Chicago sports history happened over the weekend. If you missed that in sports today, you have to go back to the podcast and listen to that. And of course, I unveiled my plan to save Hooters. The text line has never agreed with me more than they did today. I have a plan. I have a solution. Hooters, you need me, and you need to listen to my ideas.
For the record, Case has never been to Hooters.
Correct. But that's the problem. I know what would get me in the door.
So I'm not trying to work you up again. He was frothing at the mouth earlier. A lot of froth on the console here
A
on the
lot of
computer
froth.
monitors.
I hate when froth gets on the console.
Tons of
You
froth.
look like you had rabies, basically.
I guess I'll have to make my Disturbed Hooters commercial mashup coming up tomorrow, too, at 8:09.
That is correct.
A lot of work to do after the show today.
You have to go to Hooters.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.